We welcome you in to the Small Ball Podcast. Today is Monday, May 8th, and once again, Trevor has missed another episode.
Another day, another missed episode for Trevor McEwen.
Add it to the tally board.
I mean, he claimed that he's going on a cruise with his family, but I'm starting to think that last week, in the last episode, me and him, we got in a little debate. If Steph Curry's game was one of the greatest playoff games in history. I said it was. He says it wasn't. Got in a little scuffle about it. And then he dropped the bomb on us that he was going on a cruise.
Yeah.
Like the day before he leaves.
Yeah, it was a quick, it almost felt like I need to get away. Dylan Brooks getaway-esque. And, yeah, we haven't heard from him since he got on the cruise.
He went so far away, he's like, Steph's in Golden State. I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to just cruise out of Miami. I'm going to leave the States from the farthest way I can.
Yeah, it almost felt like he was avoiding that conversation and a follow-up from that game. And so now, once again, Trevor's gone. Producer Matt is filling in, which is great.
Matt. Thank you for your service.
Hero.
You know what? I'll do it. You guys will do it for me, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You've served in a lot of ways, both this country and the show, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really nice. But Trevor's was off the hot seat, now back on the hot seat.
I think he likes the hot seat. I think he likes to feel his buds get warm.
It's a little bit of drama.
Yeah. He likes to feel a little warmth underneath him, and then he'll show up, have a great performance. Then we won't see him for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Typical
Trevor. But alas, the show goes on. We're in the heart of the NBA playoffs. A lot of great series too in the second round. We got some great series in the first round, but this second round, it's been feels like almost every series could go 7 games, which that's kind of what we all expected once we got to this point in the playoffs. Just all these teams are super even. We'll start in the East, and we'll start with a game that happened last night, Boston versus Philly. Now 2-2 series. After Philly, it felt like they were in control of the game. They lost control of the game. Then they forced overtime, and then James Harden really hitting a massive shot to give Philly that win to make the series 2-2.
Yeah, I've been a kind of a James Harden hater, you could say, in the past, and saying that his style of basketball will never win. But you got to give him credit. Yeah. I mean, the 2 games that the Sixers have won, one game Embiid was out, and then this game, he drops another 40 points. And I have to, tip my hat in respect, because I think that's going to be what makes or breaks the Sixers and what can kind of elevate them to the Eastern Conference. Because, when you're watching Boston play, this whole season, Boston's good, Boston's tough to beat. But Boston's they're kind of like a bunch of bowmen. They make some really interesting decisions and, have a ton of, random errors throughout the game that's
even
unnecessary. On
the Harden shot, I get you want to help on Embiid, but to leave James Harden wide open 4-3 to now, instead of giving up a tie game, that's what you gave up. Instead of giving up a shot that would tie the game, you gave up a shot that essentially lost you the game. That, Christian, is as boneheaded as it gets, and they're supposed to be the overall favorite left in the playoffs.
Yeah, to me, it just shows that anyone can take it this year. There's not really this golden child destined team. It seems so random, which I think is really good for the league, because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you might see on social media, some people will say, well, this is boring, this, or, man, this sucks, that. It's no, this is what you want in a league. You want in your league to have that feeling of, I don't know what's going to happen. It's so much healthier than being Golden State's probably just going to run through everyone because they've got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Right.
That's just not good for your league. So having it like this right now is awesome, which led to a 2-2 series. And really, it feels like, I still lean towards Boston, but Philly really feels like they have a chance to win the series.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why they can't win this series. I think it really depends on the play, because Embiid's been playing really well. And then on top of it, too, for the Sixers side, who else is going to step up for him? Because You can have your two guys going, but then you still need someone to hit a shot at the end of the game when they randomly get open. So to see PJ Tucker not being afraid to shoot some shots every once in a while, I think will help the Sixers in the long run.
I saw a Philly account that quote tweeted he had an offensive rebound and put back, forced a play where it led to a Sixers possession. It was like, this is why you get PJ Tucker. It's like, yeah, I get it. I feel like there's other guys who can play that role. It might be a little better. But point still stands. Sixers and Celtics tied at 2-2. And then the other series in the East, the one that I don't think many people expect these two teams to meet, Miami versus New York. We didn't really get to talk about it a lot last week just because we were rushed for time. But Miami up 2-1. They're currently playing. So when you're listening to this, you'll either see the series be 3-1 or 2-2. Another really interesting series. It sounds like one of our roommates might be coming in. Chris and I are both looking out the door.
I think he walked back the other way.
Yeah, he knew a show was being recorded. That was all. We just heard voices outside. Someone's coming into a live studio audience. But that's another series, but it feels like the 8 seed Miami Heat are the favorites going forward.
Dude, this is insane. I never would have expected Miami to be in the playoffs. They lost to Hawks in the play-in. I was like, well, classic Miami. They're out.
Heat culture,
whatever. But there's this rumor and conspiracy theory going around that Michael Jordan is Jimmy Butler's dad. And I'm starting to believe it because Jimmy Butler, this playoff series and the last series, is literally playing like the reincarnation of Michael.
He's been unbelievable.
It's insane. There's a reason why his nickname is Jimmy Buckets, because he's him and he's getting buckets.
And we've talked about, and we'll talk about some guys in the West, but there's definitely been a few players. The elevation of their game has been phenomenal in these playoffs. Jimmy Butler is near the top of that list. I feel like there's like a 1A, 1B, 1C, maybe 1D, and he's probably 1A, 1B with a couple guys in the West. His performance night in and night out has just been spectacular.
Yeah.
The Heat are a legitimate team to get to the championship at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the way everything's been shaking up, it's like, why not? Why can't the Heat win? And it'd be insane to see an 8-seeded team playing in the championship and potentially winning the championship.
Because that's never happened. And especially in the play-in era, the big thing was, will we see a play-in team do anything? Well, we see the Lakers making a push, and we obviously see the Miami Heat, who are up 2-1. They dominated Game 3. For New York, I don't necessarily know the adjustments. There's talks that Julius Randle might be a little hurt because his shooting has just been cheeks.
Or maybe that's just Julius Randle.
Or maybe Julius Randle is just a cheap player in the playoffs. It's one of those series where I kind of love New York fans.
Yeah.
Big market team, but I love their fans.
Yeah.
So if the Knicks somehow made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, for basketball, since they're two big market teams, it doesn't matter. For the sake of basketball fans, it would be awesome to see New York in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, to give them hope. Their franchise has been down for so many years. It would be nice to see kind of a shock of excitement continuing to run through the streets of New York. But man, the way Jimmy's playing, I'm trying to not believe that the New York Knicks can even get over that.
No. Yeah. Gosh. And I think, and we'll kind of shift to the West, I think any of the teams in the West are probably looking at that matchup and thinking, to have the New York Knicks, or probably even the Miami Heat, which I know it's Jimmy Butler, but it's still, man, I would kill that. And we'll start LA and the Warriors, which it's a series. I know it's 2-1, but it feels like that's another series that'll go 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, Scott Foster's on the call for Game 4, so you can almost chalk that up as the Warriors win tonight to make this series tied at 2-2. And for the NBA purposes, they're going to want to see Steph Curry and LeBron go 7 games.
Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors just came from an amazing 7-game series, which Steph Curry had the greatest game in Game 7 history with the 50 ball. So, I'm sure they're going to want to recreate that.
Give us more.
Give us more.
Gimme.
It has been insane. But, man, I don't know, who's going to win this series.
And both teams are just structured so differently. LA, they want to bully you and they want to get to the line 50 times a game. And obviously the Warriors we're going to try to shoot you out of the gym. It's very different brands of basketball. Defensively, the Lakers have the advantage, but offensively, obviously you lean towards Golden State. But obviously favor the Lakers through 3 games. I don't know what that means, though, moving forward. The crazy thing is the 2 games that were played last night, Denver and Boston had a chance to go up 3-1. Both teams lost. And now it's the same case for Miami and the Lakers, where we could have it very realistically, all 4 series could be 2-2, which is just that's so awesome. No sweeps and really no chances of blowouts in series. It's rare, and you kind of have to just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, more basketball is great basketball. You know, everyone cheers when there's overtime because it's free basketball. And if we're able to watch a series go, 6-7 games, that's going to be enjoyable from a fan's perspective. Maybe not for a player's perspective.
No,
they have to keep fighting. But from a fan's perspective, you couldn't ask for a better thing.
And if you're a fan of that team, it's why? And I'll talk about the Nuggets in a little bit. Why can't we?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And to kind of touch on the Warriors and Lakers, I really think that the only way that the Warriors can win this series is dependent on how well Steph Curry. He is that engine to the team. If he's shooting well, normally that opens it up for guys like Klay Thompson or Jordan Poole, and they end up shooting well, or they at least have open shots. Still waiting for Andrew Wiggins to kind of really get back into his flow. He's had some good games this playoff series, but he still doesn't seem like he's in full stride because he's the X factor when it comes to different matchups, because he's not necessarily the 3-point shooter that the Warriors. He's more the guy that can go get his mid-range shot, which is great for kind of opening up the offense. But yeah, I mean, Steph Curry, if he's shooting well, that team can go back to the championship.
They can.
No problem.
What the scary thing is, Steph is still Steph. Even with all the years that has passed, Steph is still Steph. Unfortunately, some other guys are not the same. Klay Thompson, I know Game 2 was unconscious, 8 of 11 from 3. He had 30-plus points. But honestly, throughout these playoffs, he's been probably one of the more disappointing players. He's obviously a guy who's dealt with some severe injuries. It's hard to come back from that. But it's not the same Klay Thompson. He can still give you a Game 2, but more often than not, he'll give you what he did in Game 3, which was 5 of 14 shooting. He's not the same defender he once was, and that's going to be pro-LA. If you can get Klay Thompson only shooting 33% from the field in the game, that's an issue because you need him to be at a very high output scoring place.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on about Klay Thompson is, there's nothing wrong with this. I know that Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players to ever play this game, but at what point do players need to stop making quotes or saying I'm gonna play my heart out because that's what Kobe. Just because you're playing the Lakers, dude, this is very morbid, but Kobe's gone. He does not care. If that's your motivation, that's great, but you don't need to tell everyone that. I'm kind of getting sick of Rui Hachimura wearing 28 because Kobe was
2 and 8.
Was 2 and Kobe was 8 and Gigi was 2. It's dude, no one freaking cares who you are and why you're wearing that number.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just side tangent.
It's always a sensitive topic too, because obviously it is such a tragedy what happened with Kobe and Gigi, and you're just like, gosh. Sometimes do players like almost embellish it, where they had no connection to the story at all,
Right.
right? I don't know. I obviously am like, yeah, but I do see your side tangent. But it is interesting because there is some of that. Then there's the players who have the ultimate like Kobe connection. You're like, okay, dang, maybe Kobe was actually involved with that performance. You know, like Jason Tatum will do something. Okay, it feels like there somehow Kobe was like in the basketball. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Clay, man, Jordan Poole is a traffic cone on defense. But a player that the Lakers have been playing hasn't really seen much time in the postseason. Really, end of the year was Lonnie Walker. He gave him some quality minutes in Game 3, and so that's what I love about the playoffs, just as a whole, is you just start to watch like the chess matches between the coaches and figuring each other out and playing different players and guys that might work, which leads into that Denver and Suns series. Denver took a 2-0 series lead. Phoenix responds and wins 2 back at home. And you have to credit Coach Monty, who, you know what, he tried different players. It was Terrence Ross, who made more appearances. They did play Ish Wainwright, which that wasn't what you necessarily needed. But I believe they played like over 10 guys now in Phoenix. Jacques Landale has been actually great off the glass for Phoenix. And so TJ Warren had some key moments. And it's like, these are the chess matches that you see in a series where it's like, let's try this and let's see if this works to ultimately try to win a best of 7 series.
And you're forgetting about the biggest chess piece. You're forgetting about the guy who last episode, our Suns insider,
Kyle Garrett,
would not stop hating on Landry Shamet.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Kyle was saying last week, this guy should not be in the league. Landry went off in the fourth quarter, and he literally accelerated that team to give them that push to kind of get them over that hump, because
he caught fire.
He had 19 in the game, and that is the third best player for the Suns.
Yeah.
Like, that is where, like, the playoffs does, like, really shine, because it's like, you'll see random guys just kind of go off and hit big shots in big moments, and it's like, wow, like, this was the Landry Shamet game.
Yeah, it's crazy. And on the flip end for Denver, a lot of guys just did not play well enough in Phoenix. I didn't think Jamal Murray played well. I know he had high scoring outputs in Game 2 and 3. He had 28 Game 4, excuse me, and he had like 30 plus Game 3, but it was not efficient. He did shoot over 50% in Game 4, but sometimes possessions just get killed because he dribbles the air out of the ball. And Aaron Gordon was fine. MPJ took some really bad shots. But that's what happens when you go play on the road. It's just a different environment. The 2 guys, though, I mentioned earlier on in the show, I said there's 2 guys, 1A, 1B, 1C, Jimmy Butler. Devin Booker is a 1A, and Nikola Jokic is a 1A. All 3 of those guys, which you're like, well, Jokic, he's won 2 MVPs. It's like, well, no, he also just went 30, 17, and 17 in Game 3, and then follow that up with a 53-point performance, which is a Nugget best in postseason history. And on the flip end, Devin Booker missed 7 shots at home in Game 3 and 4. That's what you have to do in the postseason. I mean, and that's where the Suns won Game 4, is Jokic played like a superstar, but he didn't have that second guy step up enough to help him out. And he didn't have those role guys step up enough to help him out.
Yeah, what I've been realizing and noticed in this series in particular, you're going to have Durant and Devin Booker do their thing, right? And then on the flip end, you'll have Jokic, and then majority of the time you have Jamal do their thing. And then it all depends on who can step up of the, like, role players. Because, I mean, like literally mentioned Landry Shaman having 19 points is a huge factor in why the Suns won. And in the games at Denver, game one, Aaron Gordon literally almost shot perfectly.
Yeah. And game two was KCP.
Yeah, so it's like that's where, this series in particular, it could go 7 games, and it's just like whose role players are playing better that night.
And that's been the key in this series because the big names, and I know I said Jamal, but he still has been scoring well.
Right.
But that's who's going to ultimately win this series because Durant and Booker combined for 72 and Jokic and Jamal combined for 81. Granted, 53 of that 81 was from Jokic, but still getting 28 from Jamal, that's really good.
Yeah.
But the problem is the rest of the starting five, 11, 11, and 10. And MPJ was 4 of 13 shooting, which is killer because in game 3, 6 of 10 from 3. You need consistency in the playoffs in order to succeed. It's just tough because right now these two teams, it feels like are playing like the two best teams in the West, which is crazy because Golden State was on fire in round 1. But in round 2, these two teams, it's like, man, you just wish this was the Western Conference Finals because now, if you lose the series, guess what? There's going to be a narrative. And it's like, yeah, they just can't escape the second round. It's like, well, let's add some context to it. It's like, these teams have been shooting lights out besides game 2.
Right.
It's been incredible offense, but yeah, it's a coin flip. It's where I thought it would be. At the start of the series, I said it's going to be tied 2-2, and game 5 is going to be really what feels like the determining factor. Here we are, game 5, 2-2 series.
It's not a series until the home team loses.
It's
so
true.
At this point, it's 0-0, so it's best of 3. So we'll get to see game 5 and kind of see how the Nuggets respond and see if the Suns can continue to, be flamethrowers.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's all about being flamethrowers in the NBA playoffs. One final thing I want to touch on: the narrative has begun to shift a little on Jokic as because before it's like, oh, he can't do this. Nick Wright was like one of his biggest haters, and Nick Wright the last 2 games is like, no, this is the most I've liked Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal came out and said he's the best center in the league. So there is more of this narrative of it's like, okay, maybe Jokic has been pretty good this whole time.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the narrative of like, what is Jokic going to get?
Yeah,
so it's always there's always going to be a narrative. It's just like, what's the narrative actually going to bring?
Yeah, which there will be if Denver does lose this series because this team was supposed to be like the most healthy, the 1 seed. Calvin Booth will have some decisions to make. And I honestly, before I would have said it's on Mike Malone. This series is not on Mike Malone. He has had them prepared every single game, and his game plan has been pretty good. It's just you got to make shots.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even put this on Malone. It would be who are we going to trade for?
Yeah.
So
Jamal, you got to start balling, or you're getting traded for Dame.
Yep, Dame time. Well, Christian, a couple of the things we want to finish this show with. It's not even NBA playoffs. It's some offseason moves. We didn't get to cover the last episode because we're kind of short on time. But let's start in Milwaukee because there's been a bit of a coaching change.
Yeah. So as of last week, Mike Budenholzer has been fired from the Milwaukee Bucks, which is kind of an unfortunate timing of things, just because his brother recently passed during that Milwaukee-Miami Heat series. So he's going through a lot right now, which is just unfortunate to see. We hope that, Coach Buck is doing all right, get back on his feet. But at the same time, this was kind of a long time coming because you can ask Bucks fans about this, but before they won the championship, like that season, they were literally talking about like, we need. And there's even some people that were like, is this going to be the first coach to win a championship and then get fired? Like, that was a serious, topic of conversation. So, the Bucks, they let him kind of ride it out, see if he has another championship under his belt, but ultimately he just didn't have it.
Yeah, and the way they lost to Miami, we've talked about it. It was so bad because they blew leads in their last couple of games. Like, Miami was in control of every game. Game 4 and 5, they were up, and they choked it away. And it was because of just such a stagnant offense. You then try to get Giannis in the post, not going downhill, but just in the post. And it wasn't his game, and ultimately they lost in 5. If you lose in 5 to the 8th seed, your head coach is almost always going to get fired.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the Bucks do this year. Obviously, they're not going to have an issue finding someone to come coach Giannis.
Yeah.
But, to see, they shouldn't take this lightly. They shouldn't be hiring like a Jason Kidd type of guy. They should be hiring someone that knows what they're doing. Maybe, Frank Vogel's name has been out there. He is a champion.
He's a champion.
He won it with the Lakers, so it's like, and he's a really good defensive coach. And like the Bucks are like really scary defensively. So if he's able to implement some sort of offensive structure that works, and honestly, like I've said this to you guys off air before, but like to me the Milwaukee Bucks are really boring to watch. Like it's like give Giannis the ball and let him struggle until he just absolutely dunks it on you. Like that's just that's their offensive scheme. So it would be cool to maybe see someone implement some type of offense that isn't necessarily solely reliant on Giannis, because when Giannis goes down, they don't lose games. Like they did against Miami. Obviously you want Giannis on the court, but you got to prepare for that. Potentially could get injured. So that's going to be an interesting job opening, as well as the Raptors are currently looking for their head coach because they let go Nick Nurse. And Nick Nurse had some choice words to say.
Did he?
To Masai Ujiri when he was leaving. He was like, "Hey, good luck with those guys." And so it was kind of like there's some tension there. Maybe Nick Nurse didn't believe in the guys they had, or maybe these guys didn't believe in Nick Nurse. So it's good. That's going to be another interesting thing to watch to kind of see what they do.
What is Toronto? Yeah, I was going to say, what do they even do? I know they have pieces, but there's no one on that team. I guess Scotty Barnes. I was going to say, there's no one really, though, that's going to take another big leap. Like Fred VanVleet and Siakam, they kind of feel like they're at a point where I just don't see them really taking bigger and bigger leaps. Like, they're starting to reach maybe that ceiling. Am I wrong on that, you think?
No, I think that's very fair. I mean, these guys are in their late 20s to... Pretty sure Pascal Siakam's like 29, so it's like they're not even 30, so they're technically like in their prime. I don't see them getting that much better. I could see maybe Siakam continuing to develop just because he started basketball at such a young age, but I think Fred VanVleet is hitting his ceiling. And I'm pretty sure he's a free agent this year, so it's going to be interesting to see if he gets paid.
Both are 29.
Oh, so both are 29. So yeah, exactly. So they're coming up on their ceilings, and it's just it worked because you had Kawhi Leonard a couple years ago, but it's just not the same. I mean, at this point, I think they're bringing back Gary Trent Jr. There's just a whole lot of like what's going on in Toronto. And on top of it, kind of transitioning over, the Washington Wizards have an opening at the GM spot, and I've even heard Masai Ujiri's name being kind of tossed around there for
Washington.
Yeah, to see if Washington can coach him, and so that's interesting.
Talk about two teams that are just in no man's land. Yeah. Washington and Toronto. At least the Bucks, it's like, hey, we have something.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what those two teams can do to gain, like, relevancy. Yeah. Especially because of how top-heavy the East is.
Right.
And even some of the bottom teams, like Atlanta and Miami proved, it's like, oh, no, those teams are still pretty good, too.
Yeah.
And Cleveland and New York feel established as well.
Right.
So if you're Washington, Toronto, how do you get in on the mix, and how do you get in on the party to actually be a competitive team? And if you want to be a championship team, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother. You have so much work that needs to be done.
Yeah, it's definitely really tricky. So kudos to whoever can figure that out and kind of take those teams out of the world of bottom. Just
Best of the worst.
Yeah, I don't even.
Worst place to be.
Yeah, they're not even good enough to make play-in. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like what do we do here? Yeah, and Toronto in that plane against Miami. Miami looked so bad against Atlanta. I thought, oh, Toronto. But yeah, well, one final thing, Matt. We're sending you to OKC, man. It's happening.
It's happening, guys.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Too excited.
Well, next episode, which is going to be our 1 year anniversary. Cheers to 1 years. That's
shout out
Shout out 1
to,
year
to all of our
to all the fans who
Yeah.
have listened. We're very thankful for you. We'll do a whole show where we say we're thankful.
Yeah.
But and then 2 weeks to show how thankful we are, we're sending you to Oklahoma City.
We're so thankful for you.
Now, kid,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited, dude.
yeah,
OKC in the summer.
yeah.
Some people say it's like, you know,
Bahamas.
Paris. Yeah,
It's basically
Yeah.
going on a
It's
cruise.
gonna be so nice. Trevor's gonna be so jealous on me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, we're gonna brainstorm, but I just want to be. I'm just getting in people's minds that
please,
in 2 weeks the content is gonna be out of the source.
guys, I'll be in Bricktown.
you will be.
Yeah.
You will be in Bricktown.
Come see me in Bricktown.
The big friendly.
The Big Friendly. Yeah. What's the girl's name with the Girl Scout cookies?
I don't
Only
know.
Trevor knows.
Only Trevor remembers.
That's where we needed Trevor because he brings up that he's like, "That's the greatest fact I've ever heard." I'm like, what do you mean? That's such a random fact.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do so many Oklahoma things out there. I'm gonna go get a parking meter ticket that's invented there.
Nice.
I'm gonna go push a cart around, Winn Dixie or something because those were also invented there.
Oh.
Oklahoma City, guys, come on, innovative.
What was that movie? It's like about a dog named Dixie.
Yeah, well, because of Winn Dixie.
Because of
Because of
Dixie.
what
Yeah.
Nixon.
What's her name?
Yeah, I know
Sophia
what you're
Robb?
talking about.
No, but close.
Wait, I'm thinking British Terabithia.
You are.
I
Is
think
it the same girl?
I think so. Yeah.
That's Anna Sophia Robb.
Really?
Went to high school with her.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. We were both Arapaho warriors.
Anna Sophia Robb.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say we were pretty good friends. There was
bring
one.
her onto the show.
Yeah, I will. We walked by each other in the hallway once. She was senior, I was a freshman.
Whoa.
What's that for a fling?
Talk about a love story.
Walk
A
around.
scandalous love
Yeah.
story.
It was one of those. Where it was like, hey.
Yeah.
But I'm like 8 inches shorter. My voice is way higher. Hey, so I sound like Mickey Mouse probably. Yeah, she was also on Soul Surfer.
Yeah.
She was.
So apparently she's a cradle rock. She's talking to you.
Yeah, I don't even know if she said, "Hey, Pat." I might have gotten away. But yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Love is in the air.
That was Dakota Fanning first. That's what I thought.
What is Dakota Fanning in?
So
Isn't she more in horror films?
Maybe now she is. She was in Man on Fire in 2004.
That has to be a horror film.
I don't know what that movie
War
is.
of the Worlds in 2005. She was in Coraline. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You can say those movies. have-
Cat in the Hat.
Okay, that one. Actually, you could say that.
You
could say
Michael
that.
Myers,
Charles
fantastic actor.
Wait,
The spoiler alert: pig dies.
Whoa,
Pig
what?
dies.
The pig dies.
wait, this is
Horror.
this is
The
good
kids didn't even
segment.
hear that.
What's the movie that we were talking about? The Love Guru.
Oh, the love
Yeah.
guru.
Awesome movie. Michael,
Done.
why is
He needs to come back because
You look him up. Where are you at, Michael Myers?
if you look back at his movies that he made,
That's pretty good.
really good. Wayne's World is really good.
So
all
good.
the Austin Powers?
Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Cat in the Hat is a very weird movie, but it's hilarious.
It, and then he did. Yeah,
And then Shrek too.
he was in Shrek. Yeah, and then the Love Guru.
Yeah.
He was in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh,
I
what?
didn't watch that one.
Yeah.
I didn't either. That's why I didn't.
They didn't market him very well.
He's in Amsterdam. Came out last year.
Yeah, dope. No, I'm still believing
He
he's
was
only in
in
2000.
Terminals, 2018.
He's in a bunch of movies that.
Okay, these people that are making movies with him, They need to market him.
Yes.
Because if I would have known he was in these movies, I don't
Probably
know.
has huge leverage. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we have Shrek in this
Michael Myers as Shrek.
he just
any movie.
his role is always Shrek.
It's just like how Adam Sandler essentially plays himself in every movie.
Every single one, but it's awesome because you're like, oh wait, it's Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
He's in Grown Ups.
He's a genius.
This guy's everywhere. He's in Spielberg, 2017. Listening to Kenny G, 2021.
Michael Myers?
Yeah.
No, he wasn't.
Okay, you're right. I'm lying to you.
We got some movies we need to catch up.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably what we're gonna do for our 1 year. Is just talk about all the movies we watched, and then get like a piece of jewelry. Yeah, like we would for any 1 year. And talk about the 1 year set.
Yep.
So on that note, we're gonna end the show. For Mr. Matt G and our lovely host Christian Dennis. We say so long for now. We will see you next week.
Rest in peace, Kobe.
Yeah, that Kobe segment, I was like, oh gosh, this cannot be real.
That's a hot take, but like I'm over it, man. He died like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I just